So this is it. The final season of Lost. I finally watched season 6 after spending 2 weeks or 3 weeks watching the show by season. And I think, I'm not gonna lie, this is probably the best season in this show, honestly. It really is. Not only an epic final season, but also a very heartbreaking season. Because not just with the final episode, there have been several and moments throughout the show where really got me, really touched. Like it really was a touching season. Um I wouldn't say is my number one favorite show. The answer still belongs to Supernatural. And there were some very heartbreaking moments in that show. Of course, with Castiel's death, or seemingly his death, because Jack Klein revived Castiel. But Dean and Sam's death as the end of the final episode. And there was some great storylines throughout the entire dash of that show. Um, but I will say it's probably my number fourth, only because while I thought the show was excellent, I love the show. Maybe I felt like this was season 6 was officially the season where I felt like I really loved the show. Like I loved the first season, but I really felt like but it wasn't like one truly super duper ooper on board with the show like I did with Supernatural and The Mandalorian, and would later do it more in the last half of the first season of Alias and the more I watch of that show. But I still think Lost is a very good show, and I think this season is excellent. And I thought the most interesting part about the season is how this season doesn't have flashback sequences nor flash forward sequences, but interesting sequences where kind of takes place in a different world where they didn't crash on a plane, but were okay at the Oceanic A15 plane, or they live their different lives. Jack is still a doctor while having his time with his son, and hangs out with his sister Claire, who I think is I thought was very wonderful to see. I thought she was phenomenal in this season, where she started as this lady as who where she starts off as being angry and not being feeling so well that Kate Austin was adopting Aaron, but was okay with it and was happy for her taking care of Aaron while she was with while she stayed at the island with someone else. And I thought she was a very good character both in during the island sequences and like in the other part sequences. And I thought the scenes with Jen and Sun were very sad, honestly. Thought they had some great chemistry, and their sacrifice at the end, not at the end, but like in like the third to last episode was very touching. I did not see that coming, nor that I did with Saeed, and that's the exact same episode, which was the episode before that episode of young young Jacob and his brother, which was a very interesting episode where we learn about their backstory and what they were like as young kids, and that their mother was murdered by someone that would adopt them as a way to not be like the people that their real mother is or was. And I thought the actors, both the child ones and of course the adult ones, did phenomenal job in those roles. Of course, I I love Mark from Supernatural as Nick slash Lucifer. But then the person who plays I think Google lists credits him as Men in Black or something like that. I thought he was a very good uh performance and gives us the origin of the giant smoky monster or shadowish smoky monster that was throughout the show, and how his desire to leave the island turned him kind of into the dark side for a bit. Thought that was very phenomenal and good villain origins. And I thought the evil John Locke was a decent villain. I thought he was done well. And I thought his fight scene with Jack was a very brutal and fun fight action scene. And I thought his interactions with Ben were memorable too. I think Ben is a very good character in this season. I thought Alana was good too. I thought Desmond was also a very great character in this, where in the others part of the sequences where they lived their lives in the city, he tried to kill John and was beating the crap out of Dr. Ben Linus, where Ben Linus is a professor in a school, which I found to be kind of an interesting career for Ben. Um, and Sawyer is a cop also, which I think is kind of cool. And Kate was a fugitive until Sawyer caught him and caught her and arrested her, as well as Saeed and Desmond when Desmond confessed to Sawyer and they were going to the concert. Were where Claire and Charlie reunite, which, by the way, I really like seeing Charlie back in the show. And so is Boone and Shen. I really miss those characters. And it's fun to see them in this season. The final episode, which brings back Shannon, uh, felt like a big happy reunion. I mean, it's the series finale, so what better you can do? I thought probably this is one of the best series finales. I thought the way they ended the show was great, where everybody was having their memories of their island, with Sun, Jin, Juliet. She's back after she died in the first episode this season, unfortunately, but she comes back in this episode, in the final episode, and she gets her memories after a bittersweet interaction with Sawyer, which I thought was really cute. Um, and I thought having Jack as the last person to gain his memories back was I think was makes a lot of sense. I mean, he's pretty much like the main protagonist of the show. And I thought him just being staying on the island was very interesting. I mean, I'm okay with it at the same time because I feel like it would have been so obvious that they would go back to the city. Though it seems like Miles, Claire, Kate, and Ben, no, not Ben or Hurley, since they stayed while the plane was starting, going back to the city. Wonder what's gonna happen to Hurley and Ben. Though we'll never know for better, I guess. Um, I've wanted to talk about an episode about Richard, where that was a very dark and tragic episode where Richard had two woman that she loved, and both tragically died, though specifically Isabella. And basically Hurley was hallucinating Isabella and was trying to convince Richard to talk to Isabella, and he kind of did, and in tears. But man, those flashback sequences of Richard and how he met Jacob, it was a very dark and very tragic episode. I really felt horribly about Richard in this episode. But he was solid in the season overall. And I thought when Jack reunites with his father at the end, I thought that was a very emotional scene. I thought the way they executed it and how they did it was a big surprise, and it was a very good one. I really loved what they did in that scene. I thought that was perfect way to end the show with all the characters going to the church, and Mr. Shepherd opens the door and leaves with all the characters: Jack, Kate, John, Ben, Sawyer, Hurley, you name it, Shannon, Claire, Boone, Charlie, happy together at a church. Um, and I thought Hurley talking to Michael was interesting, and I thought him, uh, kind of reuniting with Libby during those sequences where they are at the city was kind of nice to see, since it was sad when Libby died in season 2 before they can go to a picnic, and they finally did, which gained Hurley's memories back of being on the island. Um, and yeah, this season, specifically season 6, is amazing. Lost is a great show, but season 6 was something else. It was something else. And I'm really glad I got to watch Lost. One of my top 4 favorite shows of all time, and check it out if you haven't, either on Netflix or Hulu or on Disney Plus with a Hulu subscription. So that's my full-on review of Lost season 6. Even if I missed some stuff about the show, but it pretty much what I can remember and needs to be known by watching this season.